This night started off with such promise. Joel Embiid getting that MVP award, a tremendous and emotional speech. But wow, Sixers offense really came out flat once again as we welcome you here to Sixers Postgame Live, brought to you by Curado Insurance, Amy Fadul, Jim Lynam, and Mark Jackson. And guys, we got to start with James Harden. I mean, I know game one he put up 45. He struggled in game two. He struggled again in game three. So, Mark, I'll start with you. Any concern on what's going on with Harden?
Absolutely should be. It absolutely should be. You know, that's the first game was fantastic. The last two games was unacceptable. You know, for this team to really flourish, you need James to be James. You know, respectfully. You know, Boston Celtics is an incredible defensive team. They're filled with a bunch of perimeter guards that can guard multiple positions. You know, but James Harden tonight, 3 for 14, 11 assists, 16 points. You know, Joel had a cool 30, but we need, I'm going to use the word need. We need James to give us more. And more on a consistent basis. The first game was great, but the last two unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, really, two of those buckets
not just
came
him,
late.
I'm sorry, and not just him.
Yeah, I mean, you could go up and down the lineup. You can look at Tobias Harris. You can certainly look at Tyrese Maxey in this one. But James Harden is going to be the one that's going to go out of the spotlight, because you heard Doc Rivers after game one say, listen, he gets a lot of criticism, and games like 2 and 3 are the reasons why, Jim. I mean, it was really only one bucket. There were a couple there late at the end.
Yeah, Aim, I'll tell you, I have to give credit to the Celtic defense. Aside from Joel Embiid, I mean, I thought the Celtics did a pretty good job really shutting down a lot of 76er offense. And yes, obviously, James, he'll be like the prime target, but there's a lot of other blame to go around in this one.
When you're looking at how it's going, and James Harden clearly didn't have it early on, is there a thought in your mind, Jim, that maybe you rest him a little bit longer, give him a little bit more time on the bench?
Yeah, I hear you, Aim. Not really.
Yeah.
You're just you're hoping he can get it going. As obviously in the forefront of my mind would be the fact he was so good in game one, and I don't know. People bring up the fact that he's playing on 1 day's rest. And that at this stage of his career, that's an issue. And I don't know. I'm not in a position here. I can only speculate. But I just know that is nowhere near. He had the same number on the front and the same name on the back as the guy in game one, but that was not the same player.
And then you see him struggling like he did. It's one of those things that it does a little bit confound it, but the energy seemed to be a little bit off, especially on a night where there was a lot of energy, I think, going in.
Yeah, Mark's word, frustration is what kicks in. And, when you're struggling like this, the pressure to make an open shot when you finally get one. And there weren't a lot of open shots. I thought Boston got up and they got into 76er space. Even Embiid sometimes. You watch, let's say, Grant Williams guarding Embiid. He really just bodied up. And I thought that was a tactic that the Celtics used very, very effectively. Doc Rivers, he alluded to that after the last game, that we did not respond anywhere near as aggressively to their aggressive defense. And I thought that was an extension of the case tonight. Yeah,
you had to match their intensity, and you saw it at times. P.J. Tucker, DeAnthony Melton, they were out there diving for the loose balls, trying to get something going. But, when your shots aren't falling, it's hard to be the one that's always trying to get back there. Well, it starts to take a toll. Offense leading into bad defense, and it just kind of the carryover, I felt like, it just really seemed to snowball, Mark.
It did, Amy. It snowballed in a rapid pace,
Yeah.
And it was the other end. It wasn't going for us offensively for our guys, but defensively, Boston is getting in the lane too much for me. We know Boston is a very versatile team. They pat their team around that versatility. But our inability to stay in front of the Boston guys, it bothers me. And it seemed like the more they seem like they can do it, it seemed like everyone started to, let's just get in the lanes. Just get in the lanes, just continue motion. And once again, you could lapse that defense, opens it up for perimeter shots, and, Boston hot again.
Yeah, you saw them hit those three-pointers. I mean, they shoot at a good clip. They're second as far as volume of three-pointers, only to the Warriors, and we know how they shoot it. But they had some really timely threes. Sixers got it to single digits. It was down to 4, and you're thinking, all right, you're right back in this one. His volume is always going to be very high, and he had a huge bounce-back game. 7 points in game 2, 27 on this night. Oof. You knew he was going to start to get hot. How crushing is it that a guy that you could identify, Mark, you knew that Jason Tatum wasn't going to go away, that he was still able to do what he did, and then Jaylen Brown as well.
When you get the 1-2 punch of Jaylen Brown and Tatum both, coming through offensively, it's going to be a long night. But once again, Boston is so deep at the guard's position. They pick who else? Brogdon in the first game really got going. Today, Tatum found his mark. It's important to realize, like, Boston has a lot of firepower. The thing that we have over Boston, we have Joel Embiid. Now, with that being said, the fact that Maxey or Harden or Tobias didn't have two back-to-backs, didn't have two back-to-back games, good games, that's something we have to balance out. And we need Melton, we need another role player to step up too to kind of take off that balance.
Yeah, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combining for 50 points, 27 from Tatum, 23 from Brown. But speaking of what Jason Tatum does, 7 or 9 on 2-point shots. 7 of 9. I mean, you're letting him talk about getting into the paint. You're letting him just do what he does best, and that's drive in and be able to make those buckets. How frustrating with the big man in the middle is that for you as a team, Jim?
Well, that's their style, Aim. You know, that's why they're as good as they are. They have a lot of people who can beat you off the dribble. They saw what Joe did the first half of last game, and obviously they have great respect for his ability, Joel's ability as a shot blocker. So they put it into the paint, and then even though Joe is there to stop it, it draws other defenders, and now they kick out to those three-point shooters. And it's not that they're an astounding three-point shooting team, but they're going to shoot a lot of them, 40-plus, night after night. And that's why you'll see, oh, man, that three just killed us. It's not like they made 4 in a row. They make timely threes because they shoot 40-plus a game, and they have about 7 guys who are capable of making it.
Yeah, 16 of 45, that's 35.5%. That's, a little right around league average. Exactly. But when you shoot 45 of them, I mean, league average is good. That's what you're looking for.
Exactly.
In that regard. Who cares if you don't hit them all because you're shooting at them? It's such a high volume. But it's going to be a lot of the questions, I know. And as soon as Doc Rivers comes out to speak to the podium, we will bring you there because I know people are interested in his comments as far as defensively what they can do better. They had the game on Sunday. You mentioned there at the end of the broadcast, you heard them say the home court has been taken back because as soon as the road team wins in the other building, then the home court now swings the other way. So it's going to be interesting. We knew this was going to be a tough battle when you look at it from the outset in the matchups. But is there a matchup that's surprising to you so far in these 3 games, Mark?
You know, it's just Boston are who we thought they are, meaning a record. They're the second best team in the East. They are so versatile. You know, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, we knew who they're going to be. You know, the thing that surprised me the most in the last 2 games is how Boston is very comfortable having Marcus Smart guard Joel Embiid. That bothers me.
Or Grant Williams. I mean, these are guys that are giving up inches.
It bothers me that they're so comfortable. And a few times they didn't even bring the double. And that's a concern for me because we can match. We can kind of match them pound for pound with the wings, but we can't match them if Joel ain't doing Joel things. And if you feel that confident in your players to guard the MVP of the league, that makes me scratch my head. Like, what's the answer? Yeah,
it's interesting. And if you look at the 4 games in the regular season, Celtics did not throw a lot of double teams at the Sixers. They won 3 of those 4. The Nets threw a lot of double teams, and they went 0 for 4. So I don't know. Maybe there's a recipe there, especially when you have the athleticism that the Celtics have. Let's go down courtside and check in with Kate Scott, who took this game in, obviously. And, Kate, the emotions were running high. We saw them with Joel Embiid's wonderful MVP speech. The crowd trying to get into it, but the Sixers, their offense just came up so flat, and I think that was the disappointing thing. What was it like first being down there, the crowd trying to will them in it, and 2, just to have those shots not fall? That had to be tough to see for them.
Yeah, Amy, you're spot on. I mean, the first half felt eerily similar to Game 2 for the Sixers up in Boston. The spacing was off. I'm sure Mark and Coach are going to talk about this. The team looked hesitant on offense. And if you flash back to Game 1, the reason that they were so dominant and were able to win that game was because they were aggressive. Nobody was hesitating on any shot. It was catch and shoot, launch from 3. It was getting downhill as soon as the ball hit your hands. And we just haven't felt that the last couple of games. So that's a point of concern for me because, as you mentioned, the crowd was awesome to start this game. They were waiting to explode, but the Sixers just not able to provide enough to allow the crowd to go off and be a part of this one.
Hey, Kate, you know, you mentioned what I was about to ask you about the hesitancy. I seen so much of Maxey respectfully turning down tons of shots in the first half. What did you see? What did you see in the second half? Did you see him starting to come out of that? Did you see the consistency the whole game?
Well, I think it wasn't just Maxey, Mark. I think it was everybody. I mean, you heard the crowd at one point in the second half when Jalen McDaniels got it, and he was wide open on the wing, and he just kind of looked around. It's almost like they're trying to be too unselfish now that Joel is back. You got to be aggressive. You got to just think it's mine, go get it. And as far as Tyrese is concerned, Mark, and you guys can obviously discuss this, it looked like because some of his shots weren't falling in the first half, he started to force things a little bit. And we know that he's so good. We know that he's so good at getting downhill. But Boston is one of, if not the best team in the entire NBA at closing that gap and getting and meeting him near the backboard or at the cup, which we saw he was blocked a number of times. And that's just Tyrese, I think, trying to do a little too much. But again, too much standing around on offense. I'm sure you guys caught Doc just livid a number of times, trying to tell guys to move, get running, and it was too much stagnation, not good enough spacing. And obviously tip of the cap to Boston as well, because they, on the other hand, were hitting their shots.
Yeah, Kate, I'm going to say I'm with you in lockstep and giving Boston's defense a lot of credit here.
Yeah.
I just added it up.
Yeah.
Tyrese and James Harden shoot 7 for 30 between them. Okay, and a lot of that is because of what you just described. Boston has a lot of length on defense, and they have a real good plan. I'll tell you right now, I'm not in that locker room, but I'll play fly on the wall. They don't want Tyrese Maxey playing with this. That's called his right hand. You look at the number of times he goes left, and they just then get big people in the air, and as a result, he's not finishing the way we're accustomed to seeing him.
Yeah, and Coach, going off of that, Harden, Harris, and Maxey, and this could have changed in the last minute, which is when I came down to the floor, but I believe at last check those three combined for 36 points.
There you go.
You can't have three of your four starters combining for 36 points in the second round of the postseason. That may knock off an OKC, that may knock off a Charlotte in the regular season, but that's just not good enough. So they've got to figure out a way to do more. And also, Coach, you and Mark can talk about this. I think Boston kind of went zone for one of the first times I've seen them do that. In the second half, I thought that kind of discombobulated the Sixers. So Game 3, not what we wanted to have happen. Now you got to go back to the drawing board. As you know, Coach, it's a chess match. So now it's up to the Sixers coaches to say, okay, they have gotten the last 2 games. Now it's time for us to punch back on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it's all about the adjustments and adjusting to those adjustments and the adjustments on top of the adjustments.
Yep.
So we'll see how they can do that
Exactly.
coming up on Sunday's Game 4. Kate Scott, thanks as always. We'll see you on Sunday.
Thanks, team. See you then.
All right, as Kate mentioned it, not of the effort that you wanted to see out of Game 3, and the result shows that Sixers now down 2-1 in the series. We're going to take a
Your hope was you were going to be able to defend it. But I think what you have to be careful of, Aim, you can't let this loss end the series. The series is still very much alive. The Sixers have to come back, and they have to get this next game to get back to 2-2. And if they're able to do that, then I think once again, it's a series that's very much up in the air. And sometimes when you lose that home court advantage after being so emotionally high over a great, Game 1 win, you don't want to let squander that.
And you look at these numbers here, Mark Jackson. I mean, this you can't have. One of these guys is always going to be able to do something. I think that that's realistic.
Yes,
but to have
facts.
both of them be able to do that is not what you're looking for. And then you look at this, they didn't shoot the 3 well. Those guys are not very good. Jalen Brown's actually a pretty good 3-point shooter, but Jason Tatum is not. Statistically, he just isn't. But he still shoots it at a good clip, and you see the numbers there to combine for 50. That's got to be a huge talking point. You got to do something different on those guys.
You got to stop one of them.
Yeah.
You can't stop both of them. So you got to slow down one of them, make it difficult, make somebody else beat you, and that's our calling card. That's what we have to get going. We got to get it done now.
Yeah, I'm sure Doc Rivers is going to talk about that. Let's check in with him now.
What do you think was the cause of James' struggles tonight on the offensive end?
I'm going to go watch it. I just didn't think we had any pace. We had stretches in the game where I thought we went downhill with speed and force. We made the right plays, and then we had stretches where we just didn't. So I'll rather watch the game first, and then I'll answer that question.
What was the cause of the issues with the turnovers in the first half again?
Just force, in traffic. Honestly, I thought the difference in the game, from my view, was that they made the simple passes, and we didn't. I mean, there was a ton of them for us. And then all the game-changing plays, 2 games in a row now. Every time we cut it to 4, we have a chance, offensive rebound or a loose ball or a charge. They did the little things better than we did the little things tonight, for sure.
took care of the boards too. They did.
Yeah, I mean, the boards are relatively even when you look at them. A 3 difference, that's because we missed more shots. But they're winning the possession game overall the last 2 games. And to me, that's been the deciding factor. You know, what did they have, 8 more shots or 10 more shots? You know, they didn't shoot well. They shot 44%. We shot 39%. We shot better from the 3, you know. But they got extra possessions. And then they got to the foul line. It wasn't a lot of fouling today in general. You know, we got to the foul line. So it was really the extra possessions.
Not only did James struggle in terms of his actual shots he took,
Yeah.
shots that he turned down.
Yeah.
What did you see that what do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll go look. I thought there was a couple times we came out of a timeout where, you know, we really thought we had the lane. I thought we were trying to snake dribble more than just go straight down and make plays. You know, that's something we talked about, getting into the paint with force, with pace. And if they come, let's make plays. You know, just didn't think we did that. So we'll figure it out. We'll be good.
What do you have to do to get Tyrese going?
Give him the ball more. You know, he's got to get the ball more too. I got on him the first quarter. There were 2 or 3 times where he had the ball and gave it up. There one time when, I don't know, I think Jalen had it at the top. He just stood in the corner. You know, and I asked him if that was Kobe Bryant, you think Kobe's going to stand? No, he's going to come get the ball. And you're one of our scorers. You got to act like that all the time. And his defense is hard. You know, it really is. He doesn't get the ball enough, and we have to get him more involved.
You talked so much coming into the game about their ball pressure.
Yeah.
How much of that was
I don't think it was as big of a factor. I thought we had lanes. I really do. We got in the paint. We just didn't get in the paint with force. You know, I thought there were so many times where we could have taken the lane and just taken it and gone downhill and made plays at the rim or made plays for passes, and we just stopped and didn't do it.
How do you think Joel looked?
He looked good. We gotta get him, as much as he was involved. There were stretches where he didn't touch the ball, and there were stretches where he didn't touch it when I thought he should have touched it. So we'll see that on film.